I'd be interested, as my first of several questions, in how you see us successfully competing with China, which has a rapidly growing footprint across Africa, in both economic opportunities and our differing values agenda, and what difference that makes going forward, how you would address that as Secretary.
Well, Senator Coons, I want to begin by thanking you, and I say to all the members of the committee, you know, one of the pleasures of having been chairman of the committee was watching individual senators kind of pick their targets and go after things. Senator Isaacson's not on the committee anymore, but he and Senator Coons were a terrific team with respect to Africa. And I know Senator McCain just took a trip, an important trip. He was in Cairo, in Egypt. He was also in Afghanistan. I just met with the members of that trip. It was a bipartisan trip. Senator McCain, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Ayotte, and White House, and Blumenthal, I think, and Senator Coons, correct. And, you know, that kind of report and that kind of intervention has an impact. And I know already from reports that what you all did there had an impact with President Morsi, had an impact on policy. And so I urge all the members of the committee to be ready and willing to travel and to engage in the way that Senator Coons has done. I think it's valuable. Now, with respect to China and Africa, China is all over Africa. I mean, all over Africa. And they're buying up long-term contracts on minerals, on, I mean, you name it. And there are some places where we're not in the game, folks. I mean, I hate to say it. And we got to get in it. But it takes a little bit of resourcing. Believe me, somebody's paying for those folks to be over there. And somebody's investing in their investment of time. And we have to be prepared, because I think that what we bring to the table is, frankly, a lot more attractive than what a lot of other countries bring to the table. People like to do business with American businesses. We're open, we're accountable, we have freedom of creativity and other kinds of things. And I think that if we can organize ourselves more effectively in this sector, we can win. And when I say win, I don't mean win in terms of, you know, Cold War terms. I mean win in terms of, you know, business contracts, business opportunities, jobs for Americans, ability to export, import, all of these things that make a difference to what the average American pays for the goods they use in everyday life. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I look forward to working with you to develop it.
You mentioned earlier there's just 3 Foreign Commercial Service officers in Hong Kong. As Senator Durbin knows all too well, there are only 10 on the entire continent of Africa, and it would be great to work with you. We've also worked together before on the issue of poaching and the tragedy of wildlife being killed all across the continent, which then helps finance transnational criminal and terrorist networks. That's also an area where I think we need to stand up and challenge China on being the largest market to which a lot of this illegal product is going. On the trip that I just took with Senator McCain, Senators White House, and the others you referenced, we visited a Syrian refugee camp and heard very sharp feedback on their perception that the humanitarian aid we've provided so far, the more than $200 million in humanitarian aid we've provided, has not reached the people on the ground, has gone through Damascus and the Red Crescent, but not through the Syrian Opposition Council. What would you do as Secretary to ensure that we are more effectively and visibly engaged in supporting the opposition that we've now recognized?
In supporting the opposition in?
Syria.
Oh. Well, there's a discussion going on right now about other kinds of possibilities. I know Senator McCain cares about it, and I've offered to sit down with Senator McCain and you and others and work this through. And I think, in fact, Senator Whitehouse asked to see some folks at the White House to talk to them about this. But we need to change Bashar Assad's calculation. Mm-hmm. Right now, President Assad doesn't think he's losing, and the opposition thinks it's winning. That is not an equation that allows you to reach some accommodation for transition. The goal of the Obama administration, I think the goal of the international community, is to effect some kind of orderly transition. Now, it's complicated by the fact that now a second envoy, Lakhdar Brahimi, has been engaged after Kofi Annan's efforts, and both have found an intransigence on the part of the opposition to be willing to negotiate a departure. The Russians have indicated, and I've had personal conversations prior to being nominated as secretary with Foreign Minister Lavrov, which indicated a Russian willingness to, in fact, see President Assad leave, but they have a different sense of the timing and manner of that. So our hope, my hope would be that if confirmed, and when I get in there, to have an ability to really take the temperature of these different players and get a sense of sort of where it is. But we have to increase, I think, the ability of the opposition, strike that. We have to increase the readiness of President Assad to see the die is cast, the handwriting's on the wall, to be willing to make a judgment here that will save lives and hold the state together in a transition.
Well, thank you. And if I might, in closing, it's my view that these admirable diplomatic efforts need to continue, but we frankly also face a very narrow window to make a difference on the ground in support of the opposition. We've recognized, I'll follow up if I might.
I hear you, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and you don't want to wind up with them blaming you for not having, I get it. But you also need to have some understanding, which I don't think is clear yet, of what step one brings you. What is step two? What is step three? And there's not a clarity to that right now, particularly with the presence of al-Nusra, al-Qaeda from Iraq, et cetera. And I think, look, what I commit to do is sit with you guys, all of you, as much as possible. Let's sit with the administration, which I will then be part of, and see how these equations work through as we go forward.
We have plenty of challenges in Kenya, in Mali, across the continent and the world. I'm grateful for your willingness to step up and take on this role and look forward to voting in support of your confirmation.
Thank you, Senator.